Good morning. Welcome to our invited guests, the financial secretaries, permanent secretaries, past and present directors, shareholders, issuers, investors, present and past staff of the ECSE, ECCB, ECSRC, broker-dealers, the legal fraternity, as well as media, and all of you joining us live via Zoom, Facebook, and YouTube for this important ceremony to mark the 20th anniversary of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. It is on this day, 19th of October, 20 years ago in 2001, that the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission were established, launching the trading of securities on our very first regional securities market. It is a privilege for me to be chair of the ceremony this morning. My name is Yuluka Armini Brown. I'm the Business Development Executive at the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. Before we commence our formal ceremony, we give thanks to the Almighty for bringing us through to this day, and we'd also like to ask His blessings on the proceedings. In this regard, we invite Reverend Deacon Tali Francis, who incidentally has been part of this journey as a former senior manager of operations of the ECSE for 11 of those 20 years. Reverend Deacon Francis will now lead us in prayer.
My friends, there's no praise that we can raise this morning greater than the praise due to our Creator. There's no joy that we can profess this morning that would not have come ultimately from His goodness. And so we pray in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Almighty God, You are the builder of all things, our light and our fortress. We give You praise and honor as we begin this year of activities to celebrate the growth and first fruits of our work. We are thankful to You for all those who have labored to bring the ECSM and ECSE to this point. The vision You gave the founders and early promoters, the wisdom You allowed the leaders, legislators, regulators, administrators, the resources You disposed to the institutions, and the knowledge and skills to the workers and market participants who together held and nurtured this seed as it sprouted during the last 15. We ask that this ceremony, on this wonderful day in which You have graced and enabled us to gather from here, there, and beyond, that the year it commences be one of continued growth, with reflection and refreshment to energize and recast where necessary, keeping it all right and positive to the benefit of our people, Your children, whom we serve and ought to serve selflessly, but to Your glory. Be with us in these proceedings, we beg. Bless us gathered with hope, vision, and resolve. Bless those who will join it in the replay, and all who will assemble and partake of the year-long activities that this ceremony initiates. We ask You to be with us, bless us, and we pray all these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Deacon Francis. For those of you just joining us, welcome to the ceremony to recognize the 20th anniversary of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, or sometimes referred to as the ECSM. The ECSM is the first organized regional securities market established within the 8 member countries of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, and was designed to provide an alternative mechanism for institutions to raise capital within the regional financial system. The overall goal of the market is to enhance the secure mobilization of capital and investment, advancing wealth creation across the ECCU region. The market was created with the passage of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Act 2001 and the establishment of the main market institutions, that is, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, the body which regulates the market, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Depository, and the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Registry. The registry has since been wound up and its operations subsumed into the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Depository. Also playing an integral role in the market operations are the broker-dealers across the ECCU. These are the licensed intermediaries which facilitate the issuance and trading of securities. To celebrate this milestone achievement of 20 years of operations, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange is partnering with the Commission and the brokerage community to hold several activities over the course of the year under the theme celebrating 20 years of facilitating, protecting, and compounding the wealth of the ECCU citizens. And the tagline is invest and multiply. More details on these activities will be forthcoming at a later stage in the ceremony. We will now hear remarks from representatives of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and the Intermediaries Working Group, which represent the brokerage community. Firstly, we'll hear from His Excellency Arthur G.B. Thomas, Chairman of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission.
Good morning, all. And Madam Chairperson, thank you for the introduction. And I ask that you allow me to use the protocols which you have established previously. I'm indeed honored to participate in this auspicious occasion, as we today launch 12 months of activities to mark the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, the ECCM. The theme chosen for the year-long celebration is celebrating 20 years of facilitating, participating, and compounding the wealth of ECCU citizens, which to my mind symbolizes not only the important role that the ECSM has played and continues to play in the lives of ordinary citizens and the residents of the ECCU, but is reflective of the true spirit of regionalism. This is indicative of what we can accomplish through cooperation and collaboration among this group of small, open, and vulnerable developing sovereign states. Born out of the prodigious foresight and enlightened leadership, of the immediate past governor of the ECCB, the late Sir K. Dwight Benham, the ECSM, along with its founding institution, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, have today earned its place as a viable and significant part of the financial sector landscape in the ECCU member countries. This is attributed in no small measure to its transformative impact on the lives and consciousness of many of the citizens and residents of this subregion. And to some measure, the diaspora. Thus, it can be said that the ECSM has in part fulfilled or is well on its way to fulfilling the intent and purpose. In his speech launching the ECSM on the 19th of October 2001, the late Sir K. Dwight Benham uttered these prescient words relative to the ECSE, one of the premier ECSM institutions launched on the very same date. And I quote, The establishment of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange will go down in our history as one of those fundamental shifts in social economic arrangements that are defined in terms of the before and the after. This institution will have an impact on our laws, on our enterprises, on how these enterprises will be financed, and who will own our enterprises. It will have an impact on the distribution of incomes and on the relationship between workers and employers. It will have an impact on and will be impacted upon by the air transportation and telecommunications industries. End of quote. What is clear is that the advent of the ECSM was meant to usher in a new economic era, ripe with opportunities and possibilities for the countries and people of the ECCU region. The hope of the founders was that the ECSE and the ECSM would serve as an opening to greater participation and inclusiveness in our economic systems, both within each member country and across the currency union. As more persons become involved in owning shares and other types of securities, they must necessarily feel that they have a greater stake in our economies and societies. Those of you who have shares in companies that are listed on the ECSE can now access readily the value of those shares at your convenience. You also have a mechanism for trading those shares if and when you feel the need to do so. Companies too are afforded another avenue for raising capital to expand their operations. With greater participation in the market comes a more knowledgeable, financially literate population, eager to become part of the economic growth and development of their individual countries, and by extension, the wider currency union. For individuals, the ECSM offers the opportunity to confidently invest in securities and earn dividends and returns and build wealth over time. For businesses, it presents an opportunity for increased access to finance, for operational expansion and business development by raising capital on the ECSM as an alternative to traditional financing. This is, however, all predicated on the presence of and the efficient operation of the appropriate legal framework and institutional arrangements that would encourage participation by building confidence in and maintaining the integrity of the market and its key institutions. An effective and efficient securities market is one which boasts, firstly, of modern, up-to-date securities laws that facilitate and govern the operation of the market. Secondly, a legal and judicial infrastructure to support and enhance property rights, bankruptcy laws, modernize company structures, AML, CFT concerns, consumer protection, and financial fraud legislation, just to name a few. Finally, surveillance and policing, allowing the ability and capability to conduct investigations into white-collar crimes so as to protect investors from investment fraud and other types of financial fraud and unscrupulous market practices. While we celebrate today's milestone, we must also assess the successes of these supporting and enabling structures and institutions. Over the last 20 years, there have been significant strides made in enhancing the securities market legislative framework and its supporting institutional arrangements. The ECSRC recently completed the development of new and revised securities market laws. It is anticipated that this modernized suite of legislation to govern the activities in the ECSM and market players will spur the growth and development of the market by offering easier access and opportunities for participation and investment for the citizens of the ECCU member countries. We also note that there are a number of projects being initiated to review and update bankruptcy laws as well as improve company and consumer protection laws. In at least one ECCU member country, a commercial court has been established and is operational. Hopefully, this could be replicated in other countries across the currency union in the not too distant future. The establishment of the ECSM has also brought greater prominence in the ECU jurisdiction and its participating member countries on an international stage. From its inception, the ECSM attracted much attention and excitement in the international community from diverse institutions, the World Bank, IMF, the West African Monetary Union, for what it sought to achieve, namely the development and integration of the financial system in the ECCU. Regrettably, while over the last 20 years, not all this international attention has led to positive results, the ECSM continues to stand strong and vibrant. The ECSM provides the opportunity for the sub-region to demonstrate to the international community that it promotes financial stability within its economic space and that it can project a global image of the ECCU financial sector as one which is stable, transparent, and well-regulated through the country's membership of the International Organization of Securities Commissions, IOSCO. In light of the issues of de-risking and its potential detrimental impact, membership in this international organization offers an opportunity to maintain a good reputation in the international community and thereby avoid international isolation. Through IOSCO membership, we can demonstrate to the world that the sub-region is committed to globally accepted standards of market integrity and investor protection. This would ultimately redound to the benefit of the ECCU region through increased participation by foreign investors in the capital markets and by extension in the economies of the ECCU countries. As we look forward to the future of the ECSM, we must continue to build on what has been accomplished over the last 20 years. While we prepare for a world where digitization and the increased use of financial technologies in commerce are now becoming more conventional. Efforts to introduce these into the ECCU financial sector are being spearheaded prominently by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, establishing the EC dollar as the first digital currency in the Caribbean region. Opportunities to facilitate the trading of digital assets on the ECSM are also actively being explored. The ECSM, therefore, is well positioned to play a major role in the ECCU member countries' financing of initiatives to combat the ill effects and impact of climate change. There is also potential for the raising of green bonds and clean energy financing for governments and corporations to introduce initiatives that will promote positive climate and environmental impacts. The ECSM is now poised for the second act. It is anticipated that the enactment of the new securities market legislation will provide impetus to facilitate greater participation by citizens and residents, not only as investors, but as market participants. For example, through the provision of investment advisory and other types of market intermediation services. Greater participation would serve to increase interest in the market from individuals and businesses in the ECCU and the wider CARICOM region, thus promoting the diversification of investment products available on the market. The ECSM also has the opportunity to be more closely integrated into the world financial system. This is a process from which the dividends to be realized are largely dependent on the response of the public and the private sector and our policymakers. The market can only be facilitated. It is incumbent on all key players to take advantage of the opportunities offered. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission is mindful of the onerous responsibility that has been thrust upon it, and is fully committed to working in tandem with all players in the securities industry to ensure the integrity of the markets and to ensure the integrity of the markets that are under its regulatory purview. We will continue to be proactive and vigilant so that we do not miss any critical bends along the road that lies ahead. Finally, let me take this opportunity to extend my congratulations and the congratulations of the commissioners of the ECSRC to the pioneers of the ECSM, its participants, as well as its founding institutions, namely the ECSE and the ECSRC. I congratulate the management and staff of both institutions on the achievement over the past 20 years and on the significant milestone that has been reached today. I thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Thomas. We will now invite Mr. Trevor E. Blake, Managing Director of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, to present on behalf of the exchange.
Good morning, all, and thank you, Madam Chair, for your introduction. Allow me to, of course, adopt the protocol that you have so ably established. Today, we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the launch of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and its subsidiaries, as well as the emergence of the broker-dealer operations and the member intermediaries. And we do so under the theme, celebrating 20 years of facilitating, protecting, and compounding the wealth of ECCU citizens. This theme is quite fitting as it encapsulates the distinct roles of the various parties who are celebrating this anniversary today. For the ECSE, it is our vision to be the medium of choice for wealth creation and capital raising in the ECCU. And we have, over the last 20 years, been facilitating wealth creation by providing avenues for investment to all within and outside of the currency union. Exactly 20 years ago, on Friday, 19th October, 2001, I stood at the podium in the Sir Cecil Jacobs Auditorium and started the countdown to the ringing of the opening bell to signal the launch of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, ushering in a new, exciting feature on the financial landscape in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. New and exciting it indeed was, as not only were we creating the first organized securities market in the currency union, but for the first time, we were linking all of the 8 member countries to create a single contiguous market with a common Securities Act, a single regional regulator, a single exchange, single CSD and registry, and intermediaries that were licensed to operate seamlessly across all of the member states, regardless of their domicile. That was new, and that was very exciting at the time. The creation of the ECSM was a second major component of the ECCB's wider money and capital market development program that sought to address some of the deficiencies in the financial system. The first was the establishment of the ECHMB and the secondary mortgage facility that had come some 5 years before. The securities market was developed to bridge the gap in an extremely bank-centric financial infrastructure. Before the securities market, financial intermediation was completely dominated by bank financing. Opportunities for investment in financial assets, at least, were practically non-existent beyond what the commercial banks were offering. The markets were fragmented. The pricing and distribution mechanisms for securities were inefficient, and the regime governing the offer and sale of securities and investor protection were woefully outdated and inadequate. So the ECSM was created to address these deficiencies in the financial architecture, to improve the efficiency of mobilization and allocation of the regional financial resources, and to channel more of these resources into the more productive sectors of the economy, as well as to reduce the over-dependence on bank financing and to provide effective mechanisms and tools for the conduct of monetary policy. In conceptualizing the market, certain design choices had to be made to contend with the geographic realities of the currency union. To overcome the fragmentation and to create a truly regional market, the dimensions of space and time had to be bridged to link the 8 individual countries that spanned at 432-mile distance. Features that were at the time very innovative and avant-garde, such as full dematerialization, wherein all physical forms of securities were eliminated, fully electronic operations, where there was no trading floor and brokers connected to the exchange remotely, a super efficient T+1 settlement cycle, where trades were cleared and settled on a DVP basis one day after the trade was executed. And that was really, really super efficient at the time when all of the global markets were still at T+3, and all of the markets in the CARICOM area were at T+5. Demutualization, wherein the market institutions were owned not by members, owned and controlled not just by their members, but by a range of shareholders across the region, were some of the things that were adopted and built into the market using the most modern technologies then available. These advanced technological features enabled us to create the first fully electronic regional securities market in the entire Western Hemisphere. The ECCU, comprising some of the smallest nations in the world, with a population of just 600,000 persons, had punched above its weight and done what some detractors said was undoable. And another important design choice that was made was that unlike traditional exchanges, the ECSE built a primary market facility to complement its secondary trading platform. This created a single focal point for all securities activities, enabling greater efficiencies and the benefits of economies of scale and scope. The benefit of this approach was fully realized when in November 2002, we launched the Regional Government Securities Market, which has provided most of the activity that we have seen to date in the securities market in the currency union. The decision to launch the market when we did in October 2001 was not an easy one. When we settled on the date, after a number of postponements due to some delays in the enactment of the Securities Act, we could not have predicted that September 11 and the attacks in the US would have happened, and the resulting economic tailspin that emanated therefrom. It really was not the most propitious of times to launch a market in those weeks after the attack, which saw global markets fall precipitously. In fact, the US markets faced the longest shutdown since the Great Depression in the 1930s and the early part of the First World War in 1914. So the impact on markets at that time was significant. It was quite dramatic. The losses in values ran into the trillions of dollars. However, while many suggested that we delay, we made the resolute decision at the time to proceed, knowing that any further postponement would have been likely to be protracted and would have been quite costly. And that would have raised questions, one of credibility and second of viability. At market launch, there were 2 listings on the ECSE, the Bank of Nevis and East Caribbean Financial Holdings. Over the 20 years, the number of listings have grown significantly to 172 securities to date. A little known fact is that the ECSE lists the highest number of securities amongst all of the exchanges in the CARICOM area. The listed securities comprise 13 domestic equities with an aggregate market capitalization of $1.94 billion. 21 corporate debt issues with a total assets of $392.7 million and 138 sovereign debt securities with the outstanding balance at $2.84 billion. From these statistics, you can see that sovereign debt securities dominate the ECSE's listing board, fed by the robust activities in the RGSM. 5 governments, the governments of Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, are active issuers through their regular auctions of securities on the RGSM, which are subsequently listed on the ECSE. Governments to date have raised over $16.5 billion on the RGSM, and more importantly, they have benefited significantly from savings in their cost of borrowing. Sovereign debt securities listed on the market range from 91-day treasury bills to bonds with maturities of up to 30 years, providing investors with a range of investment possibilities to meet all of their needs. The listed companies represent a range of industries. 6 are financial institutions, 3 utilities, 2 trading companies, 1 telecommunications provider, and 1 real estate development company. These are domiciled in 5 ECCU member countries, 5 5 of them reside in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, 4 in Grenada, 2 in St. Lucia, 1 in Dominica, and 1 in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. As you see, we have yet to make inroads into some of the other countries in the currency union, but we hope to do so in the very near future. The early years were quite challenging. In the first year of operation, revenues totaled $237,000, and with expenses of almost $2 million, we recorded a loss of $1.7 million. In the second year, a similar result. Third year, similar result, until we finally started to make some inroads and started to reduce the losses. And finally, in 2008, we broke even with a princely profit of $5,290. Since then, of course, we have been returning positive results and have completely eliminated the accumulated deficit from those early years of operation and have strengthened the financial condition of the ECSE. In fact, last year we paid a dividend of $1 per share, increasing from 51.4 cents in the previous year. This year we are likely to do similar. While these past 20 years have been challenging and the ECSE has yet to achieve its full potential, we have made tremendous gains in our operations. We must therefore pay tribute to those past and current who have contributed to this success. While time this morning does not allow me to chronicle all who have played a part in this journey, I must single out our former chairman, the late Sir K. Dwight Venner, who was the chief architect and visionary, who played the lead and pivotal role in bringing the entire market to fruition. We are forever indebted to him and his inspirational leadership at the helm of the board of the ECSE from its inception to his untimely passing. Through his leadership, we prove that a clear vision, a coherent strategy, a firm conviction, thorough planning, perseverance, and importantly, the confidence to challenge orthodoxy could make what appeared impossible a reality. While today we celebrate our successes, we must look forward and continue to ensure that the ECSE delivers on its mandate. Under the leadership of our current chairman, Mr. Timothy Antoine, the board has drafted a strategy to take the ECSE to the next level of its development. The idea is really to position the exchange and its subsidiary to realize the full potential and provide even greater benefits in the future. To this end, we are pursuing a number of strategies, a number of initiatives to expand the range of activities of the ECSE. And while I will not, as I do not have the time, list all of the activities that we are currently engaged, I want to specifically mention the trading of collateralized tokens that we are poised to launch in the very near future, building on the blockchain technology. We also, hopefully in the new year, would be launching online trading to enable investors to stay from their homes or their offices, wherever they may be, and to trade seamlessly on the exchange. We are engaged with our service providers to enable that facility to be introduced in the near future. Of course, our objective is to increase the access to the markets so more and more persons could get involved and get involved in investing in order to build wealth for themselves. as I wind up, I would want to again say congratulations to all who celebrating, our partner institutions that are celebrating, to pay tribute to those who have made this market a reality, and to say, stay tuned, the best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Blake, and we're indeed excited to learn about some of the new things that will be coming on stream, and we will continue to spread awareness as these things manifest. We now invite Mr. Richard Lukin, General Manager, First Citizens Investment Services, to bring us remarks on behalf of the Intermediaries Working Group. Mr. Lukin.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that introduction. I would do as all the other speakers have done and say all protocols observed. And again, thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the 20th anniversary. In 2005, First Citizens Investment Services became the first overseas broker-dealer licensed on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and via operations in St. Lucia and St. Vincent and the Grenadines, has since become a leading trader in government treasury bills, notes, and bonds on the regional government securities market, and corporate bonds on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, raising approximately 8.8 billion XCD between 2006 and 2020. In 2021, First Citizens Investment Services was honored to assume the chairmanship of the Intermediary Working Group Committee of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. The very existence of such a committee, where market actors of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market work directly with the exchange towards realizing mutually beneficial goals, is a testament to the leadership, direction, and forward-thinking nature of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and is key to its robust growth over the last 20 years in providing the citizens of the OECS with a marketplace for the issuance and trading of securities in a manner that is confidential, secure, and transparent. A properly functioning securities market is critical to the financial development of any region. In this vein, the operations of the ECSE over the last 20 years has provided the mechanism for the efficient raising of capital by sovereign and corporate entities, investors in the OECS having access to a range of investment options to meet their individual needs in the form of debt and equity securities, access to a range of investment services via licensed intermediaries such as ourselves, who assist investors in making investment decisions in line with their risk-return profile, assisting investors with the management of risk, creating liquidity for the buying and selling public, thereby lowering their cost of transacting, fair pricing due to the competitive nature of the market, timely information that allows investors to make informed, sound financial decisions, and via the IWG has created a committee dedicated to working in lockstep to raise and address key areas to the improvement of service delivery to the investing public. Securities markets cannot afford to be static. They must constantly evolve in order to meet the shifting demands of the financial marketplace. The ECSM is no exception, as it seeks to keep pace with international regulatory changes and continuously works with regulators to create a safe, transparent, and efficient marketplace for investors and issuers. As intermediaries, we are also held accountable to adhere to these regulatory changes for the protection of the market. The continuing evolution of regulation is critical to deepening the capital market. This will allow for the creation of new products to provide investors with diversification benefits. Products such as mutual funds and occupational pension plans are dependent on markets' continued ability to evolve and for regulations to appropriately support this expansion. Additionally, the ECSE as a technology-driven exchange is heavily reliant on IT systems used to securely process transactions between issuers and investors. The utilization of world-class technology is a key component which allows the ECSE to meet the needs of stakeholders and allows for the continuous provision of the safe, accessible, and efficient marketplace we operate in. Innovation in the development of financial technology, products, and services are a key area of focus. And most recently, Intermediaries participated in a blockchain-based digital assets platform pilot in conjunction with the ECSE. This pilot provided intermediaries with exposure to emerging financial technology in the issuance, processing, delivery, and settlement of tokenized assets. Other areas of focus of the IWG have been the ECSM system certification course, which ensures that intermediaries are trained and certified in the use of updated technology. The planned establishment of a broker-dealer association and continuing professional development for intermediaries, which ensures issuers and investors receive service that continues to meet international benchmarks, are also initiatives receiving the IWG's attention. As excerpted from a September 2013 World Bank report on the importance of bank and securities markets, the association between, and I quote, the association between an increase in economic output and an increase in securities market development becomes larger. These findings are consistent with theories predicting that as economies develop, the services provided by securities markets become more important for economic activity, end quote. Therefore, as economies of the Eastern Caribbean continue to develop, the role and the continued development of the ECSE will be pivotal to the continued economic growth of the region. On behalf of the IWG and the First Citizens Group, I extend hearty congratulations to the leadership and team of the ECSE. The significance of the first 20 years of growth and accomplishments is unmatched, and we look forward to continued participation and even further growth for the next 20. I thank you.
Thank you to our speakers for those insightful presentations. I'm sure those of you who are watching and not as knowledgeable in the workings of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market know a little more familiar with the workings and better understand the role that the institutions and organizations play within the operations of the market. To bring us even more insight, but more on a lighter side, we now invite the talented Ms. Camille John, who will be performing a spoken word presentation.
My name is Camille John, and this poem is entitled Invest and Multiply. In October of 2001, a master plan for compounding returns was born. Who knew that such a simple idea of elaborate proportions could come true? That financial independence would be accessible for me and you. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, or ECSE, paves the way for short-term and lifelong opportunities that reach ordinary citizens and families in all Eastern Caribbean territories. Developed by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank as part of a special program, the ECSE is the first fully electronic regional securities exchange in the Eastern Caribbean. With a similar or vastly different currency exchange, this platform provides an opportunity to operate efficiently in raising and transferring funds to different island territories. This, you see, is undoubtedly a symbol of our region's unity. Along with its subsidiary, the Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Depository, every Eastern Caribbean member state gets the opportunity for trade, clearing, and settlement, plus registration and transfer of financial assets for country, business, or individual development. The ECSE facilitates trading on different markets. First, the primary and secondary. One market to issue new securities and the other for individuals to trade securities respectively. So imagine Mr. Spend and Mr. Trader, one in Antigua, the other all the way in Grenada. Any listed securities, stocks, or bonds they choose can be purchased or sold through a licensed broker at any quantity. The Regional Government Securities Market, or RGSM, is where some of our government's finances stem, where funds are borrowed and lent to ECCU governing bodies to aid in their needs and development. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, although established in November 2000, it was in 2001 it officially began its operations. Although known as the ECSRC, it is the independent regulatory body tasked with ensuring integrity, probity, efficiency, and transparency of all the ECSM and its participants' operations. And it remains true to its mission. It facilitates market development while ensuring investor protection and is guided by the Securities Act and the Act's regulations. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Market has created a bridge of possibilities of wealth generation for people of all nationalities. Now, we all have a chance to invest, to set up our future with reduced hassles, no stress. As simple as this may seem, this enormous step influences our economies. In an effort to reduce unemployment, inflation, and several other challenges, while allowing the regular man to fulfill his dreams. So, as we celebrate 20 years of facilitating, protecting, and compounding the wealth of Eastern Caribbean citizens, we encourage every one of you who has not yet applied to think about your future. Start today, invest, and multiply.
Thank you, Ms. John, for that commendable performance in keeping with the 20th anniversary celebrations theme. We will now have a series of testimonial presentations by market participants, representing government issuers, institutional issuers, as well as investors. We'll first invite Honorable Philippe J. Pierre, Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Minister for Finance, Economic Development, and the Youth Economy, to bring his remarks.
Good morning. I'm pleased to be part of this anniversary celebration and to speak to you on benefits of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market from St. Lucia's perspective. St. Lucia has utilized the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, ECSE, as a viable alternative form of financing for the regional government securities market, the RGSM. The RGSM was established in 2002 as a securities market for trading of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, ECCU, government securities. The platform provides the governments of the ECCU with the ability to raise capital for budget execution, supplemental financing needs of member governments, and the issuance of maturing instruments. In the case of St. Lucia, the government began trading on the RGSM in 2004 and has to date a total of EC 817.1 million of outstanding bonds and treasury bills on the platform. While we have been able to issue short-term treasury bills with much ease, the bond market has within recent times been a major challenge for us, due mainly to investor appetite for the long-term papers. The RGSM has minimized the cost of borrowing compared to commercial banks. The ECSM has provided the government of St. Lucia the avenue to borrow short-term securities at the cost of as low as 1.5% for 91-day instrument and 3% for 180-day paper. This has allowed us to minimize the cost of our overdraft facilities, which normally range over 10%, and to better manage our short-term liabilities over the years. On our own, St. Lucia would not have been able to access a large amount of funds in one single space. By bringing together the 8 member countries, the ECCU benefits from the synergies created by the ease with which the Eastern Caribbean EC dollar can flow and thereby provide the means for domestic capital development. Having similar fiscal challenges as its regional counterparts, St. Lucia has benefited by designing instruments through which excess liquidity can be channeled to propel domestic development and reduce large fiscal deficits. The ECSE and the RGSM have influenced and shaped the St. Lucia debt portfolio in a huge way. We have over the years enjoyed the ability to structure the existing debt portfolio to mitigate against the potential market risk factors such as exchange rate, liquidity, and currency risk. We currently have limited foreign exchange rate risks, having enjoyed the peg between the United States dollar and the Eastern Caribbean dollar for 45 years from 1976. The ECSM has also provided the government with the platform to effectively price its instruments and served as a benchmark for pricing other financial assets such as its loans and equity. A requirement for money creditors is the need to provide counterpart financing in the form of security deposits or guarantees. However, due to the solid legal framework of the ECSE, the member governments are able to provide the necessary protection and security to the investing public by creating the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, ECSRC, and the Securities Act of 2001, which regulates the securities market, securities exchanges, persons engaged in securities business, and the public issue of securities. St. Lucia has been afforded the opportunity for the ECSR to diversify our investor base from the small private household investor to the large regional and international investors and financial institutions. Our largest holder of securities are the financial services sector, which constitutes approximately 59% of central government debt, while private households and individuals are the least subscribers and contribute 5% to the total public debt. The past 17 years on the ECSM has been a win-win for both the government and for our investors. The stability provided by Eastern Caribbean dollar for the oversight of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank creates the enabling environment for trade among member states and the investing public. While the recent global crises have placed the countries of the region in a precarious position, we look forward to the unwavering support provided by the ECSE and its subsidiaries. Congratulations on your 20 years of progress. I thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister J. We'll now invite Mr. Harold Lewis, Debt Manager, Ministry of Finance, St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Chair. Fellow distinguished speakers, Honorable Prime Minister Pierre, and other invited guests. My name is Harold Lewis, Debt Manager in the Ministry of Finance, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And it gives me great pleasure on behalf of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and in particular, the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Camila Gonzalez, who is unable to attend this virtual opening ceremony this morning, as I bring remarks to you in the form of a brief testimonial on this auspicious occasion as the ECSM, ECSE, and the ECSRC celebrates 20 years of existence in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, under the theme, celebrating 20 years of facilitating, protecting, and compounding the wealth of the ECCU citizens. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been an active participant in the securities market since 2003 and values its ongoing association and working relationship with the ECSE for close to 2 decades of existence, as being the premier and only formal secondary market in the OISES region, primarily responsible for providing the trading platform and facilitating the listing of government securities in the region. As a government, we recognize the important function as a critical pillar in the continued enhancement and at the same time acting as a catalyst for promoting the development and deepening of the money, capital, and securities market in the region. St. Vincent and the Grenadines has been at the forefront in helping to promote the development of the financial market in the OECS, as evidenced by the fact that we were among the pioneers as being one of the first countries to join and participate in the Regional Government Securities Exchange after the establishment of the ECSM in 2001. To this end, the commitment of the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to have a predictable and regular presence in the market has been bolstered by our collaboration over the years with the ECSE. Being solely responsible for the listing of government securities on the secondary markets, which has benefited both the government and the ECSE as a whole. As a sovereign issuer, we continue to rely on the services offered by the ECSE. One, the ECSE has continued to provide a seamless and an efficient auctioning platform by way of its dematerialization infrastructure and quick settlement process for the citizens in the region to buy and sell Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines securities, and by extension, our listed private companies' corporate paper. This has helped to generate greater liquidity in the financial system, and market players have become more familiar and knowledgeable about the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines financial instruments. This has afforded us the opportunity to be able to successfully issue in excess of 200 Treasury bills since 2003, which has also helped us to reduce our reservation price from 5.82% to 3.5%. And over the years, we have been settling at a discount rate of almost 1% or 2% on our Treasury bills. Two, we have been able to broaden our investor base as a result of our securities being listed on the exchange, which has concomitantly resulted in a greater level of interest and demand being shown for our financial instruments, leading to lower costs of financing for the government. The ECSE has continued to provide an efficient and reasonable pricing payment system that has assisted the government in meeting its financial obligation to our investors on a timely basis. Finally, the ECSE has also afforded the Government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines the opportunity to benefit from the services of a cadre of a well-qualified and highly competent and professional network of licensed brokers. As I conclude, notwithstanding these auspicious milestones, it would be remiss of me not to highlight a few points for consideration by the exchange going forward. One, there is a need to break the buy and hold culture among investors in the region. Two, the need for a rationalization of the fee structure in an effort to allow even more market participants to engage more frequently with the exchange. And finally, there is a need for a streamlining of the documentation requirements that would allow for easier and faster listing of government securities on the exchange. To the ECSM, ECSE, and the ECSRC, a hearty congratulations to you for your 20th anniversary of existence. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So we've just heard testimonials on behalf of the issuing governments. We will now hear testimonials on behalf of the institutional issuers. We start with a testimonial by the East Caribbean Financial Holding, presented by Mr. Medford Francis, who is the Deputy Managing Director, Lending and Investment of the Bank of St. Lucia.
The Eastern Caribbean Financial Holding Company Limited was established in July of 2001 through the merger of the National Commercial Bank of St. Lucia and the St. Lucia Development Bank. 4 months later, in October of 2001, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange were formed. So for us, we have been in existence for as long as the exchange has been. Indeed, we were one of the first companies to have been listed on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. Listing on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange has afforded us numerous benefits. In 2007, we were able to raise an additional $100 million in capital via the exchange through an additional public offering. Listing on the exchange has afforded us an efficient mechanism for share transfers such that our transfers of shares are linked to the Central Securities Depository system in an automated way, making record keeping of our shareholders easy. In addition to that, being on the exchange has given us the visibility that we need as a company in terms of attracting new investors. Certainly, one of the advantages for us has been the very strict regulatory disclosure requirements for listed companies. It has assisted us in ensuring that our governance and ethical practices, our financial reporting standards are at the level that is required of an international company. We commend the exchange, the Security Regulatory Commission, for maintaining such high standards of operations for listed companies. Our confidence in the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market is further demonstrated in us having operated a broker-dealer and custodian operation within our Bank of St. Lucia subsidiary for 20 years. This broker-dealer operation has been involved in numerous financing initiatives on the exchange, including initial public offerings, additional public offerings, and share divestments. To name a few, we've been involved in the Anguilla Electricity Company, additional public offering, the Bank of Nevis and rights issue, and most recently, the West Indies Oil Company divestment of shares by the government of Antigua. For us, the future of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange lies in our ability to create an enabling environment for more companies to be listed. It is in so doing that we will be able to translate the growth and expansion aspirations of these companies into economic growth and development. ECFH and its subsidiary Bank of St. Lucia takes this opportunity to congratulate the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and all participants on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market for 20 years of a stellar contribution to compounding the wealth of ECCU citizens.
So we've just heard the testimonial from the Eastern Caribbean Financial Holdings, and we'll now move to another institutional issuer, the Bank of Nevis, and we'll hear a testimonial by Mr. L. Everett Martin, General Manager.
The Bank of Nevis Limited proudly congratulates the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission on the 20th anniversary of the establishment of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, or the ECSM. The ECSM has played a pivotal role in the financial services sector by making financial instruments available to investors and facilitating the raising of funds for financial institutions, companies, and governments. The Bank of Nevis Limited was the first bank to list on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, and since then has been an active participant in the market. The Eastern Caribbean Securities Market has provided several benefits for the Bank of Nevis Limited over the years, including the successful conduct of a rights issue and additional public offering in 2017, which raised over $15 million. It facilitates the trading of the Bank of Nevis shares, thereby creating liquidity for our shareholders. It provides a platform for investing in government securities to the Regional Government Securities Market, the RGSM, and creates an avenue for our customers to invest through our broker-dealer operations, thereby acting as an agent for wealth creation. We salute all the administrators, employees, and indeed the participants of the market, and once again congratulate you on your 20th anniversary of the ECSM. Thank you.
So we've just heard testimonials from two of our institutional issuers. We now hear from the investors, those persons who participate in the purchasing of securities on the primary market and trading of securities on the secondary market. The order of the presentation will be Mr. Steve Francis, followed by Ms. Mary Popo, Mr. Brent DeFreitas.
My name is Steve Francis from St. Vincent. I am pleased to say that I find it very easy to do business through the ECSM because I find transactions are very seamless. I like the fact as well that the prospective interest rates always mirror actual interest rates that I have received in all my investments. And I like the fact that we are dealing with the OECS, 8 countries. So we have a wide menu of products to choose from.
My name is Mary Popo. I'm a retired banker, St. Lucian. Before I answer that question, I'd really like to say congratulations, to all the stakeholders in the market, and the governments, the regulators, the corporate, corporates, and those who invest as well. I really want to congratulate. 20 years, that's a milestone, and my motivation for investing, one would really be diversifying whatever little bit of money I have, into the different securities and so. And the other thing for me was the confidence that I felt in investing, simply because of the regulators. I knew that they're strong regulation, and I trust that the regulators are doing their job, and it appears that 20 years they are doing their job. So it really increases my confidence. So that really is my big motivation there. I'm a stickler for excellent service, and consequently that has been my experience with the brokers that are participating in the market. And it's just 2 of them that I really interact with, and the service is exceptional. And therefore, it also gives me that, enforces that confidence, in the market. My questions are answered, and there's no dumb question, I'm a very small investor, so I want to make sure that whatever that I invest is protected and safe. So the interaction with brokers have been a very good experience. The thing is, nationally, on a local level, it's very limited, in terms of what your investments. So I was very happy to invest in the market because it provides me with a wider range, of services and also products, to invest in. And so I was very, very happy to have that alternative. And there's a little story I want to also, when I talk about investing in the market, I like to give. I have a granddaughter who is now 11, and I think when she was about 9, and she has Dominican roots. So when one of the professionals reached out to me to talk about Dominic, and they had, some options going on there. And I said, wow, that's a great opportunity. And so my husband and I decided, you know what? Let's, if as small as it is, let's invest in Dominic, and that's going to go to our granddaughter, down the years, And so I'm happy that the market can provide one with that sort of option to be able to broaden then, your portfolio, and also to include the other countries, investment in their countries. I always encourage my friends and family to invest in the market. because it affords you again that opportunity, to diversify your portfolio. And additionally, the entry point can be very low sometimes, and I like that as well, because then it affords you the ability to do that, to enter at a very small level, and I also say that your funds are, whatever you invest in, is secured, and because there you have the regulators that are there to really protect you. And additionally, I believe in the whole, the ECCU, and the whole growth and development of our region, because alone we can't do it alone, because we are very small and limited. So the big picture, and I say to my friends, let's look at the big picture as well, in terms of being part of that ECCU. And so I'm always, anytime I have the opportunity to do so, I encourage friends and family to invest. I would like to see a little more done, though, in terms of how we educate, people about the market, and the products and so on, the benefits there. And I just hope that going forward, we would place maybe a greater emphasis on that in terms of providing the information at a wider level, where, we're in St. Lucia, right? So when I think about it, how do we translate that to the people in Creole, who may have that opportunity to do so, because we only get 2% on a savings account, so that more people would know about these other opportunities that exist, and they can take take that opportunity to do so. So congratulations again, to the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, and all the best to all the stakeholders.
Good day, my name is Brent DeFreitas from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My motivations for investing in the securities market is mainly for the interest rates compared to local banks. My experience investing in the market has been very simple and straightforward. My advice to others would be to buy securities and watch your money grow.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just heard from issuers as well as investors who have benefited from participating on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. And that's just a sample of persons and institutions who have benefited. We will be having other testimonials showcased on our various social media pages throughout the year, so please tune in. We now have a short musical interlude by Mr. Cordell Bayan, who will treat us to a nice steel pan medley. Enjoy. were just treated to a wonderful performance by Mr. Byram. We have so much talent across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union and the Caribbean for that matter, and we should showcase that at every opportunity we get. Before we bring this ceremony to a close, I now invite Mrs. Alana Joseph, Executive Manager, Wealth Management and Financial Services at the Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited. She's also the Deputy Chair of the Intermediaries Working Group, and she will be delivering the vote of thanks.
Honorable Ministers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant good morning. On behalf of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, the licensed brokers being Bank of St. Lucia, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, First Citizens Investment Services Limited, Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla National Bank Limited, and the Bank of Nevis Limited. I am honored to have this opportunity to express my sincerest appreciation to those who have contributed in one way or another to the success of today's celebrations to mark the 20th anniversary of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. We are deeply grateful to His Excellency Arthur G.B. Thomas, Chairman of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, for an enlightening address to commemorate the birth and growth of the market with hopes of a journey of continued progress. So I say thank you to you and to the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission for the role it plays in ensuring that we always do the right thing in the right way, thereby preserving the markets. Mr. Trevor Blake, Managing Director of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, we thank you most graciously for your presentation on the journey of the exchange, and also extend our gratitude to the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange team for their support and guidance in contributing to the development of an efficient market. Mr. Richard Lukin, General Manager for Citizens Investment Services Limited, presenting on behalf of the Intermediaries Working Group, we extend special thanks to you for your delivery, and thanks to my fellow brokers and brokerage community for building the bridge that connects opportunities with dreams. To persons sharing testimonials, I take this opportunity to express our sincere thanks to the respected Prime Minister of St. Lucia, Minister for Finance, Economic Development and Youth Economy, Honorable Philip J. Pear, for gracing this occasion to share his testimonial as an issuer of securities. We are extremely grateful to you, sir, for your candid sharing. I must also express deep gratitude to Mr. Harold Lewis, Debt Manager, Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning, Sustainable Development and Information Technology, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Thank you, sir, for joining us and sharing your experience within the market. Mr. Medford Francis, Deputy Managing Director, Lending and Investments, Bank of St. Lucia, representing Eastern Caribbean Financial Holding Company, I express my sincere gratitude for your insightful testimonial. Mr. Everett Martin, General Manager, the Bank of Nevis Limited, sincerest thanks to you also for sharing on the market's contribution to the growth and development of your institution. To our individual investors, Mr. Steve Francis, Ms. Mary Popo, and Mr. Brent De Freitas, deepest thanks to you for sharing your personal experiences within the market and translating its impacts on your life. To Reverend Tali Francis, we thank you for inviting God's presence and guidance on today's celebrations and for reminding us on whose strength we rely. To our talented performers, Ms. Camille John and Mr. Cordell Byam, we thank you for adding some flavor and enjoyment to today's celebrations. I would also like to express appreciation to our host, Mrs. Yuluka Brown, for leading today's proceedings and ensuring its smooth and efficient flow. We wish to thank the ECCB and ECSE Information Technology and Production teams for facilitating the live broadcast arrangements through the ECCB Connects platform and OddViz Solutions for the logistics and streaming capabilities on social media, both making today's celebrations accessible and practical for all. Thank you also to the various production teams and videographers and other support and logistics teams that aided in making today's celebrations possible, despite the geographic boundaries and amidst the COVID challenges. A welcome reminder of the creativity within our region. To the 20th Anniversary Steering Committee and subcommittees and other staff, which comprise of teams from the ECSRC, the ECSE, and all the brokers, we thank you for your ideas, time, and effort in planning and coordinating this celebration event and all other coming events to mark this auspicious occasion. Our heartfelt gratitude is extended to you, our distinguished guests, our distinguished and esteemed guests, who have taken a keen interest in the development of the market and have taken time from your busy schedule to be part of this historic celebration. Thank you for honoring our invitation. To those of you who have been participating in the market, you are instrumental in giving the market life. Please continue to invest and multiply. To persons who have not yet started utilizing the opportunities that the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market presents, please take the bold step, give it a try, so that we can collectively grow and strengthen our region. Let us work together in moving our region and its people to a culture of wealth creation. To all who have contributed to today's event in one way or another, we say hats off to you. To all issuers of securities and investors, thank you for giving the market its purpose and value. Thank you for your bold move in encouraging the development, existence, and functioning of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. To the ECSRC, the ECSE, brokers, ECCU governments, and the ECCB, thank you for demonstrating the meaning of collaboration and partnership in the furtherance of investment culture in the region, and by extension, the development of our people, and for demonstrating the value of regional integration. A reminder to us that if we strip away the water that separates us, we are all one people with the same desires. Please remember to keep safe, keep hopeful, and keep prayerful as we navigate through a challenging time in our history. For it is the lessons from these very challenges that would strengthen our mettle. Thank you.
And thank you to Ms. Joseph for so eloquently presenting the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, this now brings us to the close of the ceremony today. As mentioned, I just would like to remind you, earlier in the program, we mentioned that there are a number of activities being planned throughout the year to celebrate this milestone. The activities include continuing professional development sessions for intermediaries, quarterly public education webinars, quarterly investment trivia competitions, an investment competition based on a stock market game, and media presentations. Please visit the ECSE website, www.ecsonline.com, to learn more about these activities. They will also be posted on the various social media sites. That would be on the ECSE, ECSRC, all of the broker-dealer sites as well. So I now wish everyone a productive, safe, and enjoyable rest of day and rest of week. Thank you for joining us.